Well, hey guys, welcome to another episode of The Rachel Cruze Show. And this episode I cannot wait for because one of the people that I love so much, I hate to say it via the internet, but that's the world we live in today. But we've known each other a little bit off camera, but she is wonderful. Sazan Hendrix is my guest today. So Sazan, thanks for being here.
Hi, Rachel. I'm so happy to be here. Hello, everyone who's tuning in. What an honor to be hanging out with you here on your show when you were on our show. So it's fun to kind of see it all come full circle here.
I know. Yes, we did. I was a guest on your show, and I was like, oh, I just love you guys, you and your husband both so much. So I'm thankful that you're here because you are kind of in the space of the quote unquote influencer, right? So everything from your kids and your faith and your clothes and your home, like all of it is your job. That's like how you live your life. So I just want to know first and foremost, what got you into that whole space and blogging and doing videos and everything?
Wow. I kind of fell into it, as cliche as that might sound. But 8 years ago, when I was studying radio, television, film at the University of North Texas, I really had my heart set out to go to LA and to get into the entertainment industry and work in journalism. And then God has a totally different plan, right? That's what happened when I moved to LA. I realized during that time that there was something stirring up in this social media digital space. And I had a blog at the time that was very small, but it was still a blog that I had, and I was updating it frequently. And I think it was a mix between good timing and also just the connections and the community that were around me in that season of life, because I met a group of women at an event that I was invited to, and they said that they're all doing this thing called, influencing, and they have these blogs and these platforms, but they're actually making money doing it. And I just thought, how is that even possible? And it's really awesome because today my husband and I do this together full time, and it's how we're able to provide for our family. So I'm very grateful to the internet space. But it's definitely not easy, right? You have your good days and your bad days as an influencer. But we're just learning as we go and trying to walk through it with grace, every step of the way.
Well, I have you on because I want to pick your brain and use your talent on this show on how we can save money decorating our home. But you made a good point, though, because your job, kind of unlike mine, honestly. I do these videos. I'm, on the internet and podcasting and all of that, but it's about the topic of money, right? And like helping people in that way, where your whole life is about, or your whole job is about your life. And so, like you said, like if I have a bad day, but that's what your job is to show your life. So there has to be times, I know everyone does, right? You have your good days, your bad days. You have seasons of your life where you're content. You have seasons of your life where you feel like you're constantly comparing your work or your life to other people. And so the influencer space is interesting because I think that we all know there can be that red flag to remind people, hey, everything you see is not as picture perfect as it may look. And I think you do an incredible job bringing real life in. That's one reason I love following you, is because I'm like, there's such truth and realness to what you're doing. It's not just the good and the pretty out front. You really do a great job incorporating so many areas of your life. So what would you say to someone watching who's not a quote unquote influencer, but they're following you, they're following, I name off like 5 I follow on Instagram that I love, but you're like, man, their life looks perfect and it's beautiful all the time and everything just looks great. Like what would you say that comparison battle's like for you? And then what encouragement do you have for others watching that are not in that space, but they're consuming what you guys are putting out?
Yeah, well, first of all, thank you so much for your kind words, especially right now. I feel like we're living in an age where there's just so many people that are hurting out there, and they channel a lot of those emotions and find comfort, right? Going to social media for so many different reasons. And I try to, represent a platform that can be a safe place for people to come and to get, words of encouragement, to get a good laugh from, maybe it's a funny video with my daughter, or maybe it's just a real day of what mom life is really looking like beneath the surface of the pretty filters and the photos. And I think I've realized that, like, it's okay. It's okay to not be perfect. We all will compare ourselves for the rest of time because we're imperfect humans who want to better ourselves. But it's okay to not look left and right and think, oh my God, I need to be like her or like him. And I want to have what they have or the success that they have, because all of our paths are just so incredibly unique. And we all have a role to play in this story called life. And I'm still figuring mine out. So why not bring the world with me, right? As we are figuring it out.
Yes. Well, you do such a great job with it. And I love looking every time I see Sazan has her Instagram story up. I'm like, I want to watch. I want to see what she's doing, because I do. I so appreciate it.
I love following you because you give really great advice on how to, live life on a good budget and how to enjoy life, and that you can live the good life and it doesn't have to be worth $1 million, right?
Totally, right.
So I love following you too. You've really inspired me and my husband both.
Oh, well, I appreciate that. Well, again, it's not perfect, but you do have you have a talent to create beautiful spaces, especially in your home. And I think it's okay to say people are talented in that, they're gifted in it, and some are not. That's me. I'm not at all. No creativity in this brain. So when I see, I'm like, so I wanted to have you on because a lot of, I would say people, but probably women watching are like, I know there's things I can do around my home just to kind of give it like a little bit of that facelift, like a couple of things just to make it feel fresh. And again, 2020, we were all in our homes constantly seeing everything going on. And so we realized, I kind of want something a little bit new, but they may not have an extensive budget to do it. So you have a few tips, 10, I think I heard, which is amazing, about how to spruce up your living room, but doing it in a really wise way financially.
Yes. And I was so excited to really narrow it down because I felt like there were so many different tips that I could share. And I wrote them down. So if you see me glancing off, that's because I'm like, I really thought this through. So I want to start by saying creativity is priceless. Getting on Pinterest is free. So I always, first and foremost, when I am in a season of wanting to spruce up or decorate my living space, I go on Pinterest. I always start with that before I go to the store. Because if I go to the store, I'm that girl that's going to be sold on everything in every aisle. So you've got to walk into it with a game plan, and it starts with the creativity element first. Just figure out what you like, get to know yourself. Then secondly, I always like to figure out, okay, I know what my vibe is. I've saved a folder on Pinterest, created a little mood board for myself. Now I'm ready to get out there, right? And go shopping. Now we have to decide, well, what's your budget and where are we going to go shop and find these key pieces? So nowadays, you don't have to go to the most expensive furniture stores to find those things that are inspiring you online. You can go to local thrift stores, antique shows, antique markets, and you will be so surprised with what you'll find. So for us, bringing the old and mixing it with the new, that's really important. So even some mementos that you might have, souvenirs in your family from special trips, or maybe some heirlooms that your grandparents have given you, put that stuff on display. And guess what? You have it, so it's free. So why not, instead of keeping it in a dusty box, bring it out. Let's put it on a shelf and let's really paint the story of your family and your heritage. So that's another advice.
I love that because again, it has something to it. So when we moved into a home almost 2 years ago, and most of the stuff we bought in the living room space, I was like, we budgeted for it, but I was like, I'm just going to buy new. So it was great. It's beautiful. I love it. But the things when we walk people around the house, it's like, I want to see, this and this and this. It's the things, honestly, I can think of in my head. There's an old picture of my husband's grandparents when they were in college. And she has this 50s dress on. I mean, it's amazing. So I printed it in black and white and put it in a frame.
Oh,
and people gravitate towards that. They gravitate towards his family's a lot better at saving things than mine, obviously. But a music stand that his grandfather had, and Winston has it in the corner in his study and has stuff in it. But I'm like, that's where I direct people because you're proud of it. You love it. Or there's a story. But even if you find it at an estate sale and it's not from your family, at least you were like, yes, it was that Sunday that we were out, we didn't want to sit in front of the TV, and it brings those memories, right? It brings your life into it. So I love that. I love that tip. That's so good.
I couldn't agree with you more. It's a storytelling element, right? That just brings people together. Another thing I think too that can really help if you're shopping on a budget is when you are looking for pieces, let's say you go to a place like a Marshall's or a TJ Maxx or a Home Goods. I mean, I love that whole franchise, right? Because you don't know what you're going to find. And again, there's that excitement. But look for things that are easily transitional, like things that you can take from the summer season into the fall season without it looking like totally off brand, right? For your personal taste. So that's another really
That's
great
good.
tip. Something else that I think is a must in a living space to really warm it up, because a living room to me should be cozy, it should be warm, it should be inviting. I think that everybody needs to figure out what their favorite candle scent is. I love a warm scent. Like my home, when you walk in, it's going to smell like it's fall all year round because I love the smell of like vanilla and cookies. And just, I want that in my home. And so I get inspired by scents. So I suggest getting a candle in your living space. It is so worth it. It's going to warm it up. It's going to make you want to be there. And it's just so fun adding that into your space every season.
Love that.
Okay. No matter how hard I try, I love the look, right? I love the look of greenery. Greenery is bringing the outdoors in. It's giving a breath of fresh air into your space. Okay. And I think everybody needs a little bit of greenery, even if you're the queen of neutrals. And I think a good way to do this, if you don't have a green thumb, which is me, because no matter how hard I try, I am unfortunately killing plants all day, every day. So I'm going to leave the real plants outside where they belong.
That's right.
And what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring in some really great faux plants, artificial plants. And it doesn't have to look cheap and it doesn't have to look, inexpensive. There's so many great places where you can find artificial greenery. Even going on a place like Etsy. Etsy has so many affordable options when it comes to shopping for greenery. And I highly suggest adding that into your space, into a corner. It is going to spruce it up and it's going to actually save you money because you're going to realize, wow, all that corner needed was a green plant. It didn't need 20 million picture frames and shelving and candles. It's like, it'll actually save you money. One good artificial plant put in the corner, done.
Does so well. Does so well for the soul too. I'm with you. I love seeing greenery and plants around. It's my favorite.
If your walls need some love, okay, there's nothing more sad than a sad wall. It's just like walking in a room, you're just like, I cannot get over that wall. What do I put there? It can be so challenging, right? And especially if you're shopping on a budget, sometimes you can create the illusion that you have a window on a wall by finding the most perfect mirror, right? Those mirrors that have the appearance almost like they're a window mirror. And you can put that against a wall or over a buffet table. And all of a sudden, you have just made it seem like the wall there's a window and there's so much going on, and a mirror can really be all the difference sometimes for an empty wall. So I want to encourage people there. And even also with shelving, when it comes to shelves, it seems so overwhelming to oh my God, how do I decorate a shelf that's going to cost me a fortune? Is it going to look too cluttered? I would say that this brings me to my next point is always start with less and you can easily build up to more. I cannot tell you how many times I have regretted, and so has my bank account, when I try to shop for everything at once, right? We are living in a society where I'm guilty of this. If I'm going to shop, I just want to get it all done, a one-stop shop. But the reality is you cannot find everything that you need at one store, no matter how many stores out there try to promote it, your one-stop shop. Yep. It'll just really rack up the bill. And I think it's important to get to know your space, live in your space, and don't feel pressured that it has to look picture perfect overnight.
I love that you said that. Because there's that level of delayed gratification. Because if you get the itch to do one of these things, you're like, I just want to do it all and just do it now. And tomorrow I get to wake up and it's all finished. Listen, take your time. The patience, it's okay. It's okay. And I'm speaking to myself as well when you say that, because I'm like, you're motivated in the moment. You're like, I just want to go ahead and get it all done. But listen, just take your time. Take your time. 100%. I love that. So good.
And another thing is I love the age that we're living in right now with the internet. Okay. So what I mean by that is, you can see a lot of ways that you can bring to life your space without having to hire, a full-on construction team to create some shiplap, right? There's ways that you can DIY some of these things. You can create a pop wall. And then another thing that I want to talk about is when you are out shopping, it is so much fun when you get to that place where you're like, I'm so ready to cha-ching. But at the same time, it's okay to wait a little bit if you know that Memorial Day weekend is right around the corner, or hey, there's a holiday coming up, which means let me look at my calendar, because chances are there's going to be a lot of sales, a lot of discount codes, and a lot of offers popping up in your inbox. And I say wait because Nothing is worse than when you go and buy something and then the next day you realize that same item, it's now like 30% off.
Oh, and it always
You're
happens. It always happens.
the
You get the
worst.
email and you're like, what? No, if I just waited 3 days. Yes, absolutely. That's so good. Look at your calendar.
Another really important thing as well is like when you want to bring in the cozy element to your living room and not make it look so cookie cutter catalog, a gallery wall can be a really beautiful way to do this. You can even find really cute frames depending on your aesthetic. All of these antique stores locally that have tons of frames that you can pick from. So I say do a gallery wall and make it black and white too if you want.
Yes.
Anything black and white instantly makes it look chic, right?
It's beautiful.
You should see my photos, Rachel, when I had my daughters, like, those photos after you have your baby. But the second I put a black and white filter on it, it's just like, oh my gosh,
it's
this
heaven.
could be in a newspaper.
It's just beautiful. I know.
Exactly.
It's so
that's
true.
just a little tip.
Love that.
And then lastly, let's talk about paint, because I think it's so important when you are in your living room. You sometimes think, I need to go out and I need to go spend a fortune to make this living room just feel bright and alive. But chances are it might just need a paint job. And a good paint job can literally brighten up your home in seconds. And it makes all the difference sometimes. And then you go back and you walk in and you're like, wait, all I needed was a good paint job to tie the ceilings in with the rest of the room. And now this bright cream white color is making my living room feel so much more open and fresh and crisp. And so I say, check your paint color before you try to check your bank account and spend a fortune on couches and bright pillows and all of that stuff.
It's so true. My husband and I, we got married in 2009. And the colors that were in that year were almost kind of that brown, really almost yellowy cream. I don't know if you remember, it was kind of that.
Exactly what you're talking about.
Yes, it was that time. So we painted our house with all these colors that at the time I was like, yes, it's great. But our kitchen ended up, I can't even tell. I don't even know. That's how uncreative I am, number one. Number two, I don't even know what the color would be. It was almost like a puke green or something. It was not pretty, but at the time we didn't really think about it because it was so dark. It was dark, all of this. Anyways, about 3 years before we moved out, I was like, this kitchen just makes me so sad. And so we painted it and it changed it in an instant, an absolute instant.
Isn't that amazing?
We may have done not probably the perfect color, but at least it made it lighter and it was worth it. So worth it. So I love that about the paint.
It's better than puke green, right?
I know. And we kept being like, why did we pick this back in 2009? Oh, it's terrible. So terrible.
Well, it's okay. You're forgiven. You're forgiven.
God bless me. God bless me. Oh, gosh. Well, these were so good. Again, all these tips, under $100, you guys. And again, to make and create a life that you love, which I love talking about, you can do it inexpensively. You do not have to be this professional or go out and spend a ton of money, and you just proved it. So great. Well, Sazan, thanks again so much for coming on, sharing all your wisdom, everything that is just in you. You know this stuff in and out, and I just really appreciate you taking the time and being on with us. So thank you.
Thank you for having me. Seriously. And if there's any other ways I can always learn to save a dime here and there, girl, you better let me know.
I know. I'll be like, listen,
you better
Sazan,
hit a sister up.
I know. Absolutely. Well, thanks again. And where can everyone find you and your wonderful life that you display for us all the time?
Thanks, Rachel. You guys can check me out online, Sazan on Instagram, Sazan, and you'll see everything on there. I feel like we kind of put it all, that's kind of the main thing. So you'll see our podcast and our website and some things we're working on. But come hang.
Yes, so great. Well, make sure you guys check out everything that she's doing because, again, it's so inspiring and so fun. And for all of you watching and listening, thanks again. And remember to take control of your money and create a life you love.